We have to keep all of these people that are causing this country a fortune. You know, we're giving them health care, we're giving them schooling, we're giving them hospitals. They're taking up our hospitals.
Illegal
we have
immigrants.
to close up the border. We cannot afford, no country can afford to take millions of people and support them.
Former President Trump on the Ingram angle last night, discussing the negative impacts illegal immigration has on our economy. New analysis revealing a drastic drop in deportations under the Biden-Harris administration compared to the Trump years. The Trump administration removing 31% of more than 3 million illegal migrant encounters, while Biden-Harris has only removed 4.4% of the more than 9 million migrant encounters. The New York Post calling on Vice President Harris to better explain her border role. The author writes, quote, "In a year Joe Biden actually stood down as a presidential candidate, is it really so far-fetched to expect Kamala Harris to explain why she shouldn't be called the border czar?" Let's bring in Missouri Congressman Mark Alford. He's a member of the House Armed Services, Small Business and Agriculture Committee's congressman. And, you know, it's going to be interesting here. We were just talking on set about who her potential VP pick could be. And obviously, if it's a Mark Kelly from Arizona, helps her with her border image. But what do you make of the fact that on record with the numbers, you know, they're not doing a good job of deportations?
Well, they certainly aren't, Cheryl, and thanks for having me on this morning. Look, Joe Biden, Secretary Mayorkas were a failure with their border security. From day one, they welcomed illegal aliens into our nation, and now there's some 12 million that we know about. Countless numbers of potential terrorists who are now in our nation because of this failed border policy. Kamala Harris is just going to continue the ways of the Biden administration. She is complicit in this. She is complicit in the border failure. If she doesn't want to be called a border czar, well, too bad. You took on the job. You were tasked with fixing the problem, and you failed.
I want to ask you about Vice President Harris, and, you know, because she's now saying that she is going to back President Biden's plan to reform the Supreme Court, which would impose an 18-year term limit for justices, enforce an ethics code and limit on presidential immunity. House Speaker Mike Johnson posted on X, quote, "It is telling that Democrats want to change the system that has guided our nation since its founding simply because they disagree with some of the court's recent decisions. This dangerous gambit of the Biden-Harris administration is dead on arrival in the House." Well, Biden responded to Speaker Johnson. Watch.
Speaker Johnson says your Supreme Court reform is dead on arrival. What's your reaction, sir? Speaker Johnson said it's dead on arrival. That he is? How are you going to get this going? How are you going to get this done?
That's everything I've ever touched. That's
Okay, says we're going to figure it out. Well, the president reportedly did not run his plans by congressional Democrats before he announced it, and Biden did not speak with Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Dick Durbin and other members who've been working on Supreme Court reforms, Congressman. I'm curious what you think, because you also have the editorial board this morning in the Wall Street Journal saying that the Supreme Court, we need to fully understand right now how radical this idea is, and that he's pulling the full weight of the Democratic Party behind it, and it's an assault on judicial independence.
Well, look, this is classic progressive Democrats taking their ball and going home if they don't get their way or if they're not winning in the game. President Trump was successful in appointing several conservative Supreme Court justices. We now have rulings from the Supreme Court which are upholding the Constitution of the United States. The Democrats don't like that. They want to change the rules in the middle of the game, and that's not how it works. The American people will never go along with this. Congress will certainly not go along with this. We're not going to change the Constitution and amend it just because the progressive Democrats aren't getting their way.
Joe Borelli's on set with me. He's got a question for you, Congressman.
Yeah, I mean, you think
Sure.
about how many times the Constitution has been amended. After the first 10, we had 17, and one of those was to repeal a previous amendment. Now we have Joe Biden doing this half-baked, not even speaking to the Senate Judiciary Chairman before he comes up with his proposal. Do you think there's more to this? And I mean by that do you think this is more just kabuki theater? This is just performative? This is perhaps a way to just let Joe Biden speak about an issue over the next couple of months without really interfering with the campaign and perhaps running the country?
Well, they got to get him something to do since they're not going to Article 25 him. So perhaps this is it. Maybe this is a topic that he can spout off on and try to get some traction in his final months in office as a lame duck president now. But it's going to go nowhere with the American people. They know that this is set up right. If you want your justices on the court, then elect a president who can appoint justices. Trump has appointed the justices that he wants, and I think the vast majority of the American people want. They're giving reasonable, rational decisions based on the future of all Americans.
Well, it seems that they're targeting, really, they're targeting Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito, because those are the two names that would be, depending on how you enforce this. Either you try to make the term limits for current justices, which I think would be a huge constitutional fight, but for the next. But there's also, the talk is that those are the next two that could possibly retire. Before you go, I want to ask you about this. House Speaker Johnson and House Minority Leader Jeffries announced the 13 members of Congress who are going to be on the Trump assassination attempt incident task force. It's going to be led by Pennsylvania Congressman Mike Kelly, whose district includes the Butler farm where the shooting took place. Several members of the task force have law enforcement or military backgrounds. We do know that the FBI plans to hold a victim interview with former President Trump about the shooting on Thursday. The special agent in charge says they want to get basically his perspective of what he observed. So what do you make of all of this, and what are you expected to see out of this task force?
Well, I'm very proud that Speaker Mike Johnson is putting together this task force. It is sorely needed. I said from day one, we have to act like President Trump had been assassinated. Thank God for the providence and protection of God Almighty that he was not. But we have got to get to the bottom of this. And I think the choices that Speaker Johnson made were spot on. Mike Kelly is a stand-up individual. Clay Higgins from Louisiana, former law enforcement. Laura Lee, former judiciary from the great state of Florida. So many good members who are going to get to the bottom of this. I just hope and pray that we get some answers as to, did this assailant act alone? Why did he have encrypted communications? We have several, this is going through oversight as well. And there's going to be more testimony this week.